My beloved child. Before you continue with anything else, pause for just a moment. There is a reason your eyes have settled on these words at this exact time. Some moments pass unnoticed, but others arrive carrying a quiet purpose that cannot be explained by coincidence alone. Do not rush away. Let your heart become still for a little while, because what you are about to hear is a fictional story told through the voice of heaven, a story created to inspire hope, reflection, and courage. Somewhere within it, you may discover emotions you did not expect to feel. I have watched every silent prayer that never became spoken words. I have seen every tear that remained hidden because you believed no one would understand. Even when the world appeared loud and restless around you, there was a deeper silence inside your heart that continued calling for peace, for clarity, and for reassurance that love has not forgotten your name. Today, that silence begins to change. Something has been moving quietly behind the scenes of this story for longer than you realize. It did not begin this morning. It did not begin yesterday. It has been unfolding one unseen step at a time, like dawn preparing itself long before the first ray of sunlight reaches the horizon. You have wondered why certain moments felt unfinished. Why conversations stopped before they reached the truth. Why certain memories refused to disappear. Why your heart kept returning to someone even after convincing your mind to move forward. Every unanswered question became another thread woven into a tapestry you could not yet see. But every thread matters. Nothing in this story exists without purpose. There is someone whose heart has carried words too heavy to release. They rehearsed them countless times in silence. They imagined different endings. They pictured different reactions. Sometimes they gathered enough courage to speak, only to lose it before the moment arrived. Other times they convinced themselves that remaining silent would somehow protect everyone involved. Yet silence has a strange way of becoming heavier than truth. Each passing day added another layer to emotions they could no longer ignore. They smiled when others were watching. They laughed during ordinary conversations. They appeared calm on the outside. But beneath every ordinary moment lived an extraordinary battle no one else could recognize. You were never meant to witness that struggle directly. Not yet. Because some hearts require time before they discover that honesty is stronger than fear. Imagine standing before a locked door with a key already in your hand, yet believing the door will never open. That has been their experience. The key existed all along. What was missing was the courage to turn it. And courage rarely arrives all at once. It grows quietly. It learns through disappointment. It strengthens after regret. It matures inside long nights filled with reflection. There were evenings when they almost reached out. Their hand hovered over a message. Their thoughts returned to your name. Their heart whispered, maybe today. But uncertainty spoke louder. What if it changes everything? What if I lose what little hope remains? What if they no longer care? Those questions became invisible chains. Still, chains cannot imprison a heart forever. Every season eventually changes. Every storm eventually reaches its final cloud. Every sunrise reminds creation that darkness never has the last word. Even when you believed nothing was happening, invisible preparation continued. Every disappointment became part of a greater lesson. Every delay refined something neither of you could yet understand. You wondered whether distance meant the story had ended. But distance does not always signal endings. Sometimes distance protects beginnings that are not yet ready to appear. There is wisdom in waiting that impatient hearts rarely recognize. Seeds hidden beneath the soil appear lifeless. Yet beneath the surface, unseen transformation continues every single day. No applause. No celebration. No visible evidence. Only quiet growth. Hearts often grow the same way. The person whose emotions remained hidden has been changing in ways almost impossible to notice from the outside. Old fears have begun losing their power. Old assumptions have started falling apart. Old walls have developed tiny cracks where light can finally enter. At first those cracks seemed insignificant. Then they widened. Then they refused to disappear. Eventually they became impossible to ignore. Something unexpected happened inside them. It was not caused by dramatic events. It happened during ordinary moments. A familiar song. A passing memory. A simple conversation. A quiet afternoon. An unexpected reminder. Piece by piece, everything they had tried to suppress returned stronger than before. Not to punish them. To awaken them. Because truth has remarkable patience. It waits without forcing. It remains without demanding. It returns without anger. Eventually truth becomes impossible to silence. You have asked yourself countless times whether your story truly mattered. Whether your presence left any lasting impression. Whether someone remembers you more often than they admit. Questions like these visit countless hearts. Most people never receive immediate answers. Instead, life teaches through unexpected moments. This story is about one of those moments. Not because everything suddenly becomes perfect. But because honesty has finally become stronger than hesitation. Still. Do not imagine that this happened overnight. There were battles no one witnessed. There were moments of self-doubt that stretched across entire evenings. There were conversations held only inside their own mind. Should I speak? Should I stay silent? Should I protect myself? Should I finally tell the truth? Every possibility carried risk. Every silence carried regret. Eventually they realized something life had been trying to teach them all along. Fear promises safety. Truth offers freedom. Only one of those promises lasts. As this realization settled deeper inside them, something extraordinary happened. Peace began replacing panic. Not instantly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like gentle rain softening hardened ground. The heart that once resisted vulnerability slowly began welcoming it. And with every passing day, another invisible wall disappeared. You may think this story is only about another person. But listen carefully. It is also about you. Because while they were learning courage, You were learning patience. While they were discovering honesty. You were discovering resilience. While they were wrestling with fear. You were growing stronger without realizing it. Neither journey was wasted. Both were necessary. Sometimes heaven shapes two hearts separately before allowing their stories to touch again. If they had spoken too early, the words would not have carried the same depth. If they had remained silent forever, the lesson would never reach completion. Timing changes everything. Not because time itself possesses power, but because hearts change within time. There were moments when they believed you had already forgotten them. That assumption hurt more than they admitted. It became another excuse to remain quiet. Yet every attempt to move on brought them back to the same realization. Some connections cannot simply be erased. Not because they are perfect, but because they taught something unforgettable. Every memory became another invitation toward honesty. Eventually, pretending required more effort than telling the truth. That was the turning point. The beginning remained invisible, but the transformation became undeniable. Now imagine a candle hidden inside a dark room. At first it seems insignificant. Then someone lights the flame. The room has not changed. The walls remain the same. The furniture has not moved. Yet everything appears different because light entered. Truth works the same way. Nothing magical changes overnight. Yet everything feels different once honesty arrives. This is where the story begins becoming more mysterious. Because while they prepared their heart, unexpected events started aligning around them. People appeared with conversations they never expected. Old memories resurfaced at surprising moments. Certain opportunities closed while others quietly opened. Nothing looked extraordinary to outsiders. Yet inside this story, every moment carried hidden meaning. There were times they almost ignored those signs. But something inside refused to let them. Every reminder pointed toward one unavoidable realization. There was something unfinished. Something left unsaid. Something waiting. The weight of those unspoken words became impossible to carry any longer. Perhaps you know what that feels like. Perhaps you have also carried emotions that remained locked behind silence. If so, then you already understand why this next part matters so deeply. Because every heart eventually reaches a crossroads. One path continues hiding. The other chooses honesty. Only one path brings peace. And finally, for the first time in longer than anyone realizes, they have begun walking toward the second path. Not perfectly. Not fearlessly. But sincerely. That sincerity changes everything. Still, there remains one final obstacle. One final hesitation. One final truth so deeply personal that even now, standing at the edge of honesty, they struggle to release it. They have practiced saying these words countless times. Each attempt ended differently. Sometimes with hope. Sometimes with tears. Sometimes with silence. Yet none of those imagined conversations compared to what is about to happen next. Because the truth waiting inside their heart is far greater than anyone around them suspects. It is not merely about feelings. It is connected to something they witnessed. Something they realized. Something they have hidden from everyone. And when those words are finally spoken, nothing about this story will feel the same again. That moment is closer than either of you expects. But before those hidden words can finally leave their heart, one unexpected event must unfold first. And that single moment will change the direction of everything. The next chapter begins there. The moment I have been preparing you for is closer than it has ever been before, yet it will not arrive in the way you have imagined. Most people expect life-changing moments to announce themselves with noise, dramatic signs, or unmistakable certainty. But some of the greatest turning points begin in complete stillness. They arrive like a whisper carried by the wind, gentle enough to be overlooked by distracted hearts, yet powerful enough to reshape an entire future. The one whose heart has remained guarded is standing at the edge of a decision they can no longer postpone. They have reached the place where silence offers no comfort, where pretending no longer brings peace, and where every attempt to walk away only leads them back to the same unanswered truth. For a long time they believed that if they waited long enough, their emotions would fade. Instead, those feelings became clearer with every passing day. There were mornings when they convinced themselves everything was over. They filled their schedule with distractions, surrounded themselves with familiar routines, and tried to silence every memory that carried your name. Yet the quieter their surroundings became, the louder their hearts seemed to speak. They discovered something unexpected, that distance can separate two people physically, but it cannot erase what has genuinely transformed a soul. There was one evening unlike the others. Nothing extraordinary appeared to happen on the surface. The sky looked ordinary. The world continued moving as it always had. But inside them, something shifted. A simple moment became impossible to ignore. A familiar place reminded them of a conversation they thought they had forgotten. A single sentence spoken by someone else echoed with surprising force. It felt as though heaven had quietly arranged a mirror before them, allowing them to see what they had avoided for so long. For the first time, they stopped asking whether they should protect themselves. Instead, they asked a different question. What if the greater risk is never telling the truth at all? That question lingered long after the night ended. It followed them into the next morning, into ordinary conversations, into moments of silence, until it became impossible to escape. Every person carries hidden rooms inside their heart. Some rooms are filled with joy. Others contain disappointment, regret, unanswered questions, and words left unspoken. They realized they had locked one particular room so tightly that even they had forgotten what remained inside. But the door could not stay closed forever. Slowly, they opened it. Inside they found memories untouched by time. They remembered the kindness that changed an ordinary day. They remembered laughter that arrived when hope seemed distant. They remembered moments that felt small while they were happening but later became unforgettable. Those memories did not accuse them. They simply reminded them that some gifts should never be taken for granted. As those memories returned, another realization followed close behind. They understood that fear had disguised itself as wisdom. They had called it caution. They had called it patience. They had called it practicality. Yet beneath every excuse lived the same hidden emotion. The fear of being vulnerable. Fear can imitate wisdom for a while, but eventually the heart recognizes the difference. You have wondered whether anyone truly understands the weight you have carried. In this story, the answer is found in an unexpected way. While you were asking your own questions, another heart was asking remarkably similar ones. While you questioned whether you mattered, they questioned whether they deserved another chance to be honest. While you searched for peace, they searched for courage. Neither journey was wasted. Every delay shaped both of you differently. Every unanswered prayer refined something invisible. The lessons were unfolding separately, but they were quietly moving toward the same destination. Yet there is something you do not know. There is one truth they have never shared with anyone. Not with friends. Not with family. Not even with the voice inside their own mind that constantly demanded answers. They buried it beneath layers of ordinary life because they believed acknowledging it would force them to make a decision they were not ready to face. But buried truth has a remarkable way of finding the light. The more they ignored it, the stronger it became. Then came another unexpected moment. Someone asked them a simple question. It sounded ordinary. It lasted only a few seconds. But it reached places inside them they had spent months protecting. The question was not about you directly. It was about happiness. About whether they were truly living honestly or simply surviving each day behind carefully built walls. They answered quickly. Too quickly. Their words sounded convincing. But the silence that followed revealed everything. For the rest of that day, they could not stop thinking about what had happened. Their heart whispered something they had resisted hearing. If you cannot answer honestly, perhaps it is time to change. Those words became impossible to forget. From that moment forward, every ordinary detail seemed different. The sunrise appeared brighter. Quiet moments felt heavier. Old photographs carried unexpected meaning. Even familiar places reminded them of conversations they wished they had handled differently. Regret is not meant to imprison a heart forever. Sometimes it becomes the doorway through which wisdom enters. As understanding grew, so did determination. They no longer wanted to remain the person who stayed silent. They wanted to become someone who chose truth, even if their voice trembled. That decision did not remove every fear. It simply gave hope permission to become stronger. And hope is far more powerful than fear realizes. Meanwhile, unseen preparations continued. Certain conversations ended exactly when they needed to. Unexpected opportunities created moments of reflection. People entered their path with words they never expected to hear. None of it appeared dramatic. Yet every detail quietly pointed toward the same destination. They were being prepared. Prepared not merely to speak. Prepared to speak honestly. There is an important difference. Anyone can say words. Very few speak directly from the deepest part of their heart. That is the place they are approaching now. Still, one final mystery remains. There is a reason they have delayed this conversation longer than anyone understands. It is not only because they fear rejection. It is because the truth they carry reaches further back than you realize. It connects to a choice they made long ago. A choice they believed could never be undone. For months they have wondered whether revealing that choice would destroy every remaining bridge between you. They replayed that moment repeatedly. If only I had acted differently. If only I had spoken sooner. If only I had trusted instead of doubting. Those thoughts became familiar companions. Yet something unexpected happened during one quiet night of reflection. Instead of focusing on what could never be changed, they finally understood that the future is not built by yesterday's mistakes alone. It is shaped by today's courage. That realization became the beginning of their freedom. They are no longer asking whether they should tell the truth. They are asking how. How do you place months of hidden emotion into a few honest words? How do you explain silence that lasted longer than it should have? How do you reveal everything without allowing fear to interrupt once again? These questions remain unanswered. But not for much longer. Because even now, another moment is approaching. A moment neither of you planned. A conversation neither of you expected. An encounter that will begin like any other ordinary day. No one around you will recognize its importance. Yet heaven already sees where it leads. When that moment arrives, the first words spoken will not be the ones you expect. The deepest truth will remain hidden for only a little while longer. But once the conversation begins, there will be no returning to silence. The secret they have protected for so long will finally stand at the edge of the light. And what they are about to reveal is greater than anyone has imagined. That truth begins in the next chapter.